welcome to another episode of the We Talk Health podcast. I'm your host, Kara Mobley, and here with me today are Cathy Sudbury and Dean Houston with the Sports Plus Rehab Centers. Welcome back, guys. Dean and Cathy, you've been here before.
Yes, and we appreciate you having us again.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Thank you guys so much for coming in. So today's topic, this is kind of a new thing that's been going around, pickleball. So this episode, we're wanting to talk about pickleball injury prevention. We don't want you to get in a pickle. So we want to kind of talk about this. Now, for me, I didn't hear about this sport until just a few months ago, and ever since then, it has been all I have heard all over the place. So guys, kind of tell me a little bit about pickleball. How long has it been around? What is pickleball?
Well, I was going to say, I found out about two years ago or so in Virginia playing it with my son and daughter and their families, and it's very intriguing. It is very similar to tennis, but at a slower pace.
Right.
But one of the things we want to make people aware of, even though it's out there nationally saying that you can't get hurt, well, there are injuries.
Disclaimer
yes,
on all of these people saying that.
Please. And Dean, you just recently have been playing as well, correct?
I have, yeah. I'm not a pickleball historian by any means, but I know it's been around for a while. It's just all of a sudden gaining popularity quite a bit. Everybody's finding out about it, wanting to play and enjoying playing. And it's just, it's just taken off. High demand, very popular right now. In fact, it's currently one of the fastest growing sport over the last 2 years, according to the Sport and Fitness Industry Association. And it really does seem to be everywhere. All parks and recs departments are like converting their tennis courts. They're getting underplayed into pickleball courts now, or they're building new ones. So there's just this big rush to everybody wants to play it. And then when you do go play it, you're like, oh, wow, this is a lot of fun. So you decide you're going to keep playing it. And, what I'm here to talk about today is the people that are going to play that maybe have been inactive and now all of a sudden they're becoming active again. And pickleball is a very fun sport. It's low impact. It can be played by any age person of any skill level, but there are risks involved with that, and people just need to be aware of that.
Right. So in terms of physical therapy, if a person decided, hey, I want to go play pickleball, kind of maybe what would they need to think about ahead of time before they play, or, what is actually, involved physically with that?
Well, it involves a lot of quick movements. You're playing it's very similar to tennis. It's kind of a mishmash between ping pong and tennis. You're playing on a smaller court. It has a net. You're using a paddle instead of a racket. It's a little smaller than a tennis racket, but it's bigger than a ping pong paddle. There's a lot of lunging and there's quick movements. You're swinging a racket. There's explosive movements. You're not covering as much court as you would on a tennis court, but you're still moving quickly and you're changing directions very rapidly. And there is a risk for injury if body's not prepared for that activity.
So I shouldn't just throw on my tennis shoes and my shorts and grab a little paddle ball and go?
No, you should. You should do that. I am not trying to scare people off the pickleball court, but what you do need to do is make sure you're equipped well with the right shoes, and you need to make sure that your body is ready to go do that activity. And I'll talk more about that later, about how you can prepare your body and what you need to do before you play and after you play to reduce, your injuries. But you just need to be aware that, hey, this isn't like, walking across your house. You're actually playing a sport. And if you haven't been active in a while and done any kind of explosive movements or anything, you're kind of setting yourself up for an injury if you're not prepared for that.
Right. And I can imagine people who maybe weren't already active people and they're like, oh, this is great. This is something I can do. I'm that type of person where it's like, I don't work out a whole lot, but when I get into a sport, I really get into it. So I can imagine that during the playing of the sport, if you're a competitive type person, you might push yourself farther than maybe you're realizing without having the proper, if you need to stretch beforehand or something like that. So that kind of leads me into what injuries are commonly occurring when people play pickleball.
So there's a lot of potential injuries, actually, like strains, sprains, fractures are common, believe it or not, because you have a there is an elderly age segment that's playing that has a fall, they break something, especially repetitive use injuries of the shoulder, like the rotator cuff, or in the elbow and wrist, like for tennis elbow. Those are common injuries. And other injuries like that happen with quick ballistic movements, like lunging forward or lunging to the side, to the hamstring or calf muscle. Those are possible too. And that's even amplified your risk potential if you're tight. If you got tight hamstrings, tight calf, and you go out there, you haven't played in a while, and now you're out there trying to bounce around on a pickleball court, you're just asking for an injury. And just for full disclosure here, I was playing a couple of months ago, and I played with my wife and some friends, and we finished playing, and we were cleaning up, and I bent over to pick up a ball, and I felt like I literally got shot in my right calf. I looked down to expect to see like a hole in my calf.
Oh, no.
Like, wow, that hurt. And I couldn't do a calf raise on that side. And it was kind of like, whoa, I just had an injury. I'm a physical therapist, and I'm like, well, this is weird. That was unexpected. Did I warm up beforehand? No.
Right.
It's pickleball. Why do I need to warm up?
So it's a little bit more intense, I think, than maybe people
think
about
absolutely.
it going in.
I feel like I'm decently fit and probably above average for my age as far as fitness level, just pickleball, But after that, and I ended up rupturing a muscle in my calf. It wasn't my Achilles tendon, fortunately, or that would have been really bad.
Right,
I would have been laid up for months in surgery, and it was a muscle that's not really that necessary in your calf. And I made a full recovery after wearing a boot for about 3 weeks. But that kind of made me think after that, wow, that could have been my calf. That could have been my Achilles tendon. That could have been something really bad. So from that day on, I've taken my pre and post pickleball activity level or preparation a little more seriously. And that's why I think it's important for people just to realize that there is an injury risk associated with playing any sport, especially sports that you're doing any kind of agility or ballistic movements or anything like that. I did a little research for this, and I was blown away by how much, just to give you a little insight, the UBS study estimates that pickleball contributed to up to a $400 million healthcare costs in America this year.
Oh, man.
With 67,000 ER visits, 366,000 outpatient visits, and 9,000 surgeries associated to pickleball injuries.
Right, and that's really not out there in the news.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
They're portraying it as easy.
For all ages.
Yeah.
And
yes,
And
all
it
ages.
is.
The older you get, this is the sport for you to go
that
have
you can
fun.
play, right?
Yes.
So with people, that maybe don't already have a really active lifestyle, or for older people, are there any modifications that they can make, or what kind of things that can people do to prevent injury?
Well, that's a great question. You're going to go out there and play probably with people that you're on the same skill level with. I don't recommend somebody that's been playing for 1 week to go play with the national pickleball champion or whatever. But also your competitive nature is going to take over.
It's going to come out, right? Some people, right.
I think the important thing to do is to properly warm up before you play and to cool down after you play. So typically, and that doesn't just need to be on days you play pickleball that, this is the one day of the month I'm going to stretch my hamstrings. that if you're going to start becoming active and and this is really for any sport, but specifically with pickleball, you need to warm up. You need to do some dynamic stretching before you get out there and actually start playing. And after you play, you need to do like a cool down stretch, and you need to target the muscles and the joints that are most at risk, like your calf muscles, your hamstrings, your hips, your shoulders, and your elbows. There's different ways you can do that. You can go online and find good information about stretching your hamstrings, stretching your calf muscle. And if you can't find, there's also bad information online.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't feel like you're getting the information you need, you can come to one of our clinics. We can show you everything you need to know. If you've had an injury, again, you can come to our clinic. We'll assess you. And there's other things besides just stretching before you play pickleball or whatever sport, and then stretching after you play. Maybe you actually need to do some strengthening and prepare your body so you can be a better pickleball player, and you can actually have reduced risk for injury by strengthening your core, your trunk, and your hips, especially for any sport like tennis or pickleball, racquetball. You need to have a strong core, and you need to have strong hip muscles in order to have a good foundation for all the movements that you're going to be making. And if you're perpetually having an injury, you may have some tightness somewhere or some weakness somewhere that needs to be addressed. And that's where we can kind of help you find that out, identify the problem, and kind of give you a treatment strategy for making it better.
Well, Dean, you mentioned how they could come to one of our clinics, and one of our viewers that are listening, that there are 14 clinics here in the West Tennessee area, and that we do a 15-minute free assessment at any of our clinics. So if you do have something going on, just give us a call. If not, reach out to Dean. Dean or myself will get you to the right clinic.
Right. Especially, I guess, this could potentially be for people who haven't started playing but are interested in playing and want to make sure that they're in a physical realm that will allow them to do it. Or if they've started playing and they're maybe feeling some sort of pain somewhere in like their shoulder or somewhere in their legs or hips, definitely give one of our Sports Plus rehab centers here in the West Tennessee area a call.
731-421-8116.
And that is for our Sports Plus South that Dean is the program manager there.
Right.
Yes, and Dean has played pickleball and has experienced that injury. So
he can tell you.
We're going to call him our expert right now.
That's right.
He can tell you all about it. Great. So we're actually recording this podcast in October, and October is National Physical Therapy Month. So for National Physical Therapy Month, we've got a physical therapist here in the studio, and we want to kind of talk about that, raise more awareness about that. So what does being a physical therapist mean to you, Dean?
Well, it means I have a profession that I get to truly help people on a daily basis. Our profession, we help people that are going through physically, emotionally, mentally difficult times. You don't typically end up in physical therapy if everything's going great.
Right.
If you're there working with us, something's gone wrong, something's happened, and we're there to help guide them through that difficult time. And I feel extremely fortunate and grateful to be a part of that process. When I graduated high school, I wasn't mature or disciplined enough to go to college. It would have been a disaster. So I kind of went a different path. I went in the military, and I matured and gained some discipline and got out and decided I want to pursue a PT degree and a PT career. And it was the best career decision that I've ever made. I go home most days with a sense of fulfillment, knowing that I've helped people that day. And that means a lot.
Right. Over the years in your profession, have you noticed any myths that people maybe didn't understand, or what you kind of want the general public to know more about physical therapy that's maybe not very well known?
Yeah. We have a lot of people that come in and they're like, okay, can I get my massage now? And it's like, that's not what we do.
That's the best part, though.
Yeah, it's the best part, but it's,
But it's not just about that, right?
It's not. I don't think a lot of people really understand the intricacies of being a physical therapist. And, we are essentially movement specialists. That's what we do. We watch people move, and we identify problems with their movement, and we develop a plan, a treatment strategy, and a plan to fix that problem, or whatever the problem is. Physical therapists, we specialize in evaluating, diagnosing, and treating patients with physical limitations and impairments. We help individuals regain their function, reduce pain, and try to improve their overall wellness.
Right. And you're taking this person from just giving them the knowledge to help themselves and understand their own body better afterwards.
Yes. We don't want them to be dependent on us. I want you, if you have to come see me for physical therapy, I want you to be finished with me as soon as possible. I want you to move on with your life without being dependent on having to come see me to help you. We're going to show you the tools to help yourself. And if you can't in the future, then you can come back. Maybe something else is going on. You never know. But our goal is to restore your function back to normal as soon as possible.
Yeah, injury recovery, injury prevention.
That's right.
So in terms of the profession itself, what advice would you give to someone who is interested in becoming a physical therapist?
Well, that's a good question. I get it a lot. It's a very popular field. It remains a popular field. It's also an extremely competitive program to get into. It was when I got in, and it still is now, but it's doable for somebody that's considering pursuing that career. You need to take your school and your GPA very seriously. It needs to be competitive. If it's not, you're not going to get in. You also need to fully commit yourself to it. Once you make that decision, this is what I want to do, you need to immerse yourself in the field. You need to go somewhere and either work in a clinic as a technician or as an aide, or you need to volunteer in a clinic and get some exposure to make sure that's what you want to pursue. And you will pick up things while you're there observing that will help you down the road when you have an interview. there's just a lot of things. You need to talk to people. You need to ask questions. You need to talk to the PTs, PTAs, the PT techs, the patients, and you need to just ask them about their experiences so you can be well informed when you start interviewing. And you got to show the schools that you're applying to that you're genuinely interested in getting into the program. And you do that by showing documentation that, look at all these places I've gone to and learned from, and this is my experience. I want to do this. And I think it's important that if you don't get in the first time, you apply again. Call the schools, call the program, and ask them if you don't get in, well, what do I need to do differently? How can I improve how can I be more competitive? And usually they'll give you some advice. You need to commit yourself to it. And just don't give up.
I would assume it's something, if you would need to have a passion for it. Or once you got into it, you can kind of see what it means to help someone and to see someone recover or do the thing that they came in needing to do.
Yeah. Generally, if somebody's on the fence about, I don't know if I want to do this or not, once they actually start working in a clinic somewhere, that's when they really know they want to do it. They get some exposure to it, and they get a sense of that fulfillment and knowing you're actually helping people. Then they really want to do it. Right. So it's a great career, and I highly recommend anybody that's considering it to pursue it. We need more young, exciting, happy PTs out
people
there.
Coming into the profession.
That's right.
Well, thank you guys for coming in. Is there any news with our Sports Plus Rehab Centers you want to share with us?
Just a reminder that with physical therapy, you can self-refer yourself. So anyone out there is listening and does have that ache and pain or something that is just not going away and needs some physical therapy, just give us a call. You can self-refer.
Great, yes. And I will make sure to plug our Sports Plus website page and the phone number to get in touch with us here at West Tennessee Healthcare.
That.
Awesome.
Thank you guys so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to We Talk Health. This podcast is not intended to replace any medical advice. Nothing said in this podcast is intended to supersede or supplement the direction of your medical caretakers. If you have any questions or would like to request a topic, you can reach out to us at wetalkhealthpodcast@gmail.com.